night. The Tigercast is back live at our normal 8:30 time slots. It's good to be home back in Melbourne, sort of. I mean, the Gold Coast was a nice holiday, a lot more sunny than it is here, CB. But here we are. We're back again after a win, which is a nice change for once. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. I'm just texting our mystery guest to say we're live when he drops in. So just giving you a courtesy. We wouldn't give that courtesy to Tiggs or Carl, but we'll do it to this fella.
Fair enough. Yeah, I left you in charge of organising the guest tonight because I've been flat out. So this is all on you, my friend, all on you.
It is. G'day, Zero. G'day, Azza. Boys, I'll tell you what's funny is if our viewers out there ever want to know how cutthroat Michaels is, all Tiggs did, right? I promise you, he said, I've got a $9,000 computer that I'm trying to run. I just need a few extra dollars just to, pay for the internet and everything that this thing draws in. Michael said, yeah, no worries, mate. I'll take that under advisement. This week, he's off the show. So
he had the full support of the board, as they would say, the full support of the board. Slime, Nick, Darren, Dean, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. Now, CB, like I said, you did set up the special guest for tonight because I've been flat stick with 690 emails. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'll add him to the stream. He is live from a motel, maybe near Roxburgh Park. We're not too sure, but
I'll get my guests from motel rooms.
Yeah. Jeez, it's got disaster written all over it. No, Tiggs hasn't got the XK. CB was just joking. Tiggs is actually sick tonight, so his wife tested positive, and he's lost his voice, the poor bloke. So he's out of action. And Carl is working at 3AW tonight, so he's producing a show. So he's there. Richmond Brotherhood, Ralph, Azza, Lee, all very good.
Just do the maths, guys. So I've had COVID and I've been in ISO all week. I'm out tomorrow. So I've had COVID. Tiggs' wife's got COVID. Just putting it out there, folks. Just for internet scandal. Just putting it out there.
Jeez, you've gone full Tiggs. Chris Rock there and Will Smith. Jeez. I've had COVID too, by the way. Hello from Thailand, Hugh. Welcome.
Hello from Thailand.
Very good. But no, Tiggs will be back next week, so he'll be all right. He's just lost his voice. But we'll introduce our mystery guest that CB has organised. Hopefully his internet dongle is working. Elton John's wig from the Big Footy Board. Welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Is it clear now?
That is much better than the motel Wi-Fi.
Oh, you need a hat, mate. Just a bit glary, mate.
I don't have a hat, unfortunately. I suffer from the same male pattern baldness that you do, CB, but I choose not to cover it up because I'm brave.
He's proud.
Yeah.
How you been? You been going well?
Well, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. It's good to be here after a win. You've picked the right time to jump on board.
I picked a great time.
All right, now before we...
is upsetting me is that in the on Twitter this afternoon, CB has basically called me Jake Arts. I don't know if I can overcome this, and I don't know if I can complete my obligations.
I'm just saying, mate, pure and simple. We had a couple of injuries. You got the sub vest on. You're in, Jakey. You're in.
It's a pretty harsh comparison, if we're being honest. But look, to be fair, CB gave Artsy a vote last week, so it could be a good sign for you. No, I didn't pay for him to lose his voice.
And I'm better looking than Tiggs anyway, so, wins all round.
And you vote for Richmond. It's always a bonus, mate.
Magpie 71.
Thanks, Slime.
All right, now, before we get stuck into it, obviously the hottest topic around Richmond, besides the game, is Dustin Martin. Now, we do like our listeners to bring questions to the table, but I don't think any of us are in a position to answer questions on speculation about his future, his whereabouts, whatever it might be. So all I want to say about Dusty is we wish him all the best, and he can take as much time as he needs to do whatever he has to do at this point in time in his life. And just as a bit of a show of support for him, it would be great, everyone, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is, just drop a number 4 in the chat. Let's flood the chat full of number 4. Show your support and love for Dusty because he's a Tiger great. and we just want to make sure that he knows he's loved by us no matter what. So take all the time you need, the great man, and we will see you back whenever we see you back. So I just wanted to
Leon Daphne. I like that's a great call, Con. Yes.
A bit Leon Daphne. That's a very good call.
That's a very good call.
Good to see all the fours in the chat. Lots of all the support in the world for our great man Dusty. So he'll be back. He'll be all right. Before we get to the game, whatever platform you're on, please do give the live stream a like and a reshare and a retweet, whatever you've got to do just to get us out there, help out with the algorithms. It's always much appreciated. But the Tigers, CB, had a very good game on the weekend, which I'm happy to be proven wrong on occasions like this. I did tip the Giants last week. On paper, it looked disastrous, and I don't think I'm alone in thinking that. But Richmond 16-13, 109, defeated GWS 10-13, 73 by 36 points. We had Bolton with 4 goals, Lynch with 3, Bolton and Soldo with 2, Baker, Castagna, Edwards, Nankaldo, as he should now be known by, and Ralph Smith with 1 each. I'm not sure what else you can really say about it, CB. That was it was one of those backs to the walls types games, similar to the Port Adelaide game. You've got half a side out. Not many teams could pull off a win like that. I know it was here, but you still got to, you look at the GWS engine room, and our boys did a stand-up job.
3 words: youth, pace, enthusiasm. And we were hoping that the kids who come into the void would show something. We argued the case of why Ralph Smith should be never dropped out of this team and why Dow should be Dow and Ross should be played on the ball in their natural positions, square pegs for square holes, and look at the results. Look at the results you can achieve when you're not trying to reinvent the wheel and you put blokes where they're meant to play. And it was, I agree. The general consensus is the best win since the Port game a couple of years ago. Agree 100%. It was just a wonderful, wonderful win for the club and a great result for the reserves too, to beat a very strong Southport team. So very good day for the club.
Yeah, they smashed him out. What did you make of the game?
I've got a question there. CB, what do you mean by...
Jesus Christ.
You put players where
he's just cutting out.
What do you mean by you put players where they're meant to play?
You were just cutting out, mate. Have another go.
What do you mean by you put players where they're meant to play?
Simple, mate. Why do you try and make natural on ballers wingers? Why do you try and create forwards into backmen, etc.? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, fair. I just wanted to hear you say it.
Oh,
because I know we've talked about it.
We're just losing you, brother. Oh, no.
No, the audio's playing up there. The dongle's fallen through. This is
dongle.
$9,000 dongle all over again.
This is what happens when you pick up Jake Arts in a motel room, folks.
I might remove him for the time being. We'll see if we can get him back once I can see him moving around in the off-screen bit. We'll see how we go. But no, very good point you made there, CB, about plays in the right spot. It's, Jackie Ross has had his critics out there, but he and Dow played the inside role exactly how they should play it. And I thought they played it pretty well. They didn't have to get 25, 30 disposals each. They just helped extract the ball and get to the blokes who could use it.
Well, have a look at their numbers. So Thompson Dow, 14 disposals, 5 clearances, 17 pressure acts. What more are you going to ask for a kid who's 19 or 20 years of age, playing his, 4th, 5th game of football against a Rolls-Royce midfield? And then when you look at Jack Ross, 12 disposals, 1 clearance, 18 pressure acts. And I think if you look at the overall pressure acts of the team, Jack Ross was, I think he was top 5 in overall pressure acts for our team. So those 2 young men battled and played admirably and did the job.
Yeah, they did. And I am being honest, Julian, about Ross. I thought he played a game where you didn't think, shit, what's he done? Like, he just did his role, played within his limitations, and played the spot he was meant to play in. Before we drop Elton back in, does anyone out there know what the injury to Dow was? I haven't been able to find it anywhere. No idea. was his knee? Was it from that knock we spoke about today?
Yeah, and our boy Bojangles 17 on Big Footy was saying today it was precautionary. So hopefully he retains his spot and can play again. He mans up and plays next week as well, which would be wonderful.
Okay, that's good because I was really liking what Dow brought to the game, Elton, as we welcome you back. What did you make of young Thomas Dow? The better Dow of the family, it must be said.
Hopefully that is it. Hopefully turning off the other Wi-Fi will make it work. Dow was fantastic. He looks a natural. He moves well. He didn't panic with disposal. Everything I liked about it. I'd be disappointed if he was out long term.
Yeah, he was lighting it up until then. He didn't look out of place. And like we sort of said last week, it's a pretty star-studded GWS lineup in the midfield, and he more than held his own despite maybe having a slightly lighter frame than others. I thought he was great.
He was number 5 for pressure acts too, by the way.
There you go.
And he missed a quarter and a half, essentially.
Correct.
So it speaks volumes about his game. And he's obviously had his sort of pre-season troubles with, was it glandular fever he had last year or the year before? He missed quite a big chunk. CB, stop encouraging him, people, to CB to please. We don't. But yeah, hopefully the news is good for Dow and he can get back in sooner rather than later. What about your man CB, Nathan Broad? I felt he was almost the hero of the backline. And before you go into it, I think the backline in its entirety needs a massive pat on the back because Gibcus, Tarrant, Miller haven't really played much with Richmond, let alone together. And to hold down the fort like they did was nothing short of sensational.
Now, before I answer this, there'll be EJW will seriously launch through the computer if I do not say that Nathan Broad is our boy. Me and EJ, we speak about Broady every week, and he is a lock in our 22. We have some serious man love for Nathan Broad. Again, second highest possession getter, 22 disposals, 5 tackles. Mate, he is an unheralded gun of that back line. Unheralded.
He stood up really well.
I just saw the J-Cast. Did he get the fine?
For trespassing on the MCG yesterday. Did you like Broady's game, EJ?
I loved it. I found it very hard not to get into his votes, but I reckon he looks about 2 or 3 kilos lighter this year too. He's moving really well, and I said that to CB earlier today. And I think there's an extra level of confidence where maybe a year or two without the instruction of Grimes or whatever, he maybe wasn't always naturally just snapping, but he's making the decision and he is going to the contest before he even thinks now. So leaving his man and hitting the contest and saving another player is making a massive difference.
And a lot of people in here, it's good to see a lot of recognition in the chat for Broady as well. It was his direction, his intercepting, and I suppose not the question mark, but he's always had like a Vlauston Asprey rant to kind of blend in with Vlauston, so he hasn't had to play that main man. I know Tarrant's a bigger body, but you would say that Broad probably really took control of that back line and got it functioning, and he was unbelievable. What about the shorter counterpart in the back line, Jaden Short, CB? 33 disposals, 2 tackles. I feel like it was one of his better games for us. And I think a lot of people, when I asked on Twitter for a 3-2-1, had him as their best.
Yeah. Look, again, Short, I didn't check out Shorty's meters gained for this one. EJ, would you like to elaborate? You take the Jaden Short question, please.
I actually have an amazing stat about our boys this week. So Jaden Short had 798 metres gained at 87.9% disposal efficiency.
There you go.
Right. Now, if we look at our top 7 of the metres gain brigade this week, only one of them went at below 80%. Right?
Okay.
Right. So 87.9, 87.5, 81, 86.4, 86.4, 89.5, and Bolton at 64. 6 out of our top 7 metres gained brigade went at over 80% disposal efficiency. That says a lot as to how it doesn't matter about disposals with Richmond. It's about how we use our disposals.
It's a good point you make, because I was actually surprised when I was looking at the disposal stats. The numbers really read no different to the game against Carlton. Like, a lot in the 20s, we had 1 over 30, and just the outcome and the efficiency in which the ball was used was the huge deciding factor.
Yeah, but one word, mate, against Carlton versus GWS, the difference was intent. Our intent was just so different.
And it helps when you're not giving away 10, 50-metre penalties. That's always a nice little buffer to have up your sleeve. So who were the other players for that metres gained, EJ? So you had Shorty at number 1.
So Short at 798. Bolton had 537 at 64%. Obviously, his shots for goal and things like that have brought it down.
Okay.
Parker was huge, 482 at 87.5%. Rioli, in one of his great games off the half-back, 477 metres at 81. Jack Graham, who I spoke to CB about today, 441 metres at 86%. Broad, 377 metres at 86%. And Ralph Smith, 345 metres at 90%.
Yeah.
Those names don't surprise me. Speaking of Rioli and Ralph Smith, how exciting was it to see their dash and run through the half-back line when you get that quick little turnover at the top of the 50 and they're just taking off with that receiving handball and burning straight through the middle? It was a great sight to see, CV.
We're going to have a painful question once we finish this game analysis. Youth versus what we've got to come back in. Like, I just do not see how Ralph Smith can be out of this team. Rioli, when he gets his wheel spinning, you can't knock him out. Like, that youth and pace that those guys brought, they were just cutting lines. And Hugo in particular, his run and dash in that first half, they had no answer for him. They literally had no answer for him. And best game he's played by a mile. I had just flashbacks of Stewie Maxfield. It was wonderful. Yeah, buffer. He needs to have a 27 on his back. Seriously.
I was the same. I couldn't believe he wasn't in the round 1 team, but was really pumped for him that he was in the starting lineup for this week. And, he made a couple of skill errors when he was on those long dashing runs, but that composure will come with time. That's fine. I don't mind him making those mistakes because, like you sort of said earlier, CB, the intent was there to take the game on, and I think Dimmer would love that, and everything else will fall into place a little bit later. Now, Elton, a lot of people in the chat talking about Parker. I was a huge rap for Matt Parker's game. I know the jury's kind of out on him. A lot of people were a bit critical when he was named, saying he doesn't fit into the best 22. Maybe that is accurate, the best 22 when everyone's fit and available. But his game on the weekend was exceptional, I thought. He ran his ass off all day for the team. He harassed, he chased. He's a good height. He's a good point of difference, similar to Camden McIntosh in that sense. He's a hard matchup. And I thought he added quite a bit to our lineup, EJ.
Yeah, as I said, he was fantastic. He's number 3 for metres gained. He was also equal first for contested possessions. One thing you cannot question about Parker is his intent. Sorry for having my head down. I was actually trying to find the stat.
That's okay.
He's not the cleanest player. I admit that. Much in the vein of, say, Shane Tuck back in the day. He's not the cleanest player, but you can't have 22 surgeons in your side. You've got to have people that are going to hunt and they're going to kill and they'll put their body on the line for everything. And you cannot question the intent of Parker. He's absolute 100%. He knows this is his second chance and he is making every step a winner, whatever. I'm mixing my metaphors. He's taking every chance he can with his second chance.
Keep in mind, too, when people were sort of bagging him out last year, skills no good, he was coming off a couple of waffle pre-seasons and all of a sudden he's thrust into AFL football again. Now he's at the benefit of a AFL pre-season again. You can't tell me that's not going to benefit his gameplay. So I think, and I'm hoping he just builds from what he showed on Sunday, because he was fantastic.
I like him. He's locked himself in for another couple of weeks in my books. So, Trent Cochran, the former skipper, I think it would be fair to say that there was some glimpses of the Cochran of old. He did a nice little blind turn that was very reminiscent of a final against Geelong not that long ago. It felt like his hunger was back. The appetite for the contest was back. I know CB had a bit to say last week about his sort of lateral movement and chasing players. A couple slipped past him, but that's just an age thing. You can kind of wear that, but his hunting for the ball and his ball-winning ability was back to a level where we needed to be, I think.
Okay. Was that a result, though, of surrounding him with a Bolton, Graham, Quicker, Dow, Ross, a different midfield shake-up? Was Cochin able to play more of his natural game again?
Yeah, possibly. Maybe he didn't feel like he had to. Maybe he was relinquish some of the grunt work. Maybe he was told, let these boys do bulk of the grunt work, and you just kind of do your thing. And I don't know, whatever was said to him and whatever he changed, EJ, he was a totally different player from last week that people had written off for the rest of the year.
Yep, he was. Again, I'm a nerd. I don't go by disposals, by the way. For me, disposals are the most useless stat the game has. But if we look at Koch, he was equal number one for contested possessions. He was number one for tackles. He was equal second for score involvements. He was second for pressure acts, and he was second for defensive half pressure acts.
Yep.
His hunt was 100%. He not only hunt for the ball, he was also very good at hunting for the man. We all know he uses his body as a ram. He was back to what we know and what we love.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved what I saw. And if he can bring that each week, or even if he has to rest every couple of weeks to bring that for 2 or 3 week blocks in a row, do whatever's got to be done. Now, this next player we didn't actually have on the list, CB, but I'm actually disappointed in the Tiger faithful that we haven't been tagged in a GIF yet of Nankervis's goal from that ruck contest. How has no one tagged us in something like that on Twitter yet? Someone please get that made. That was nothing short of exceptional. To tap it twice, keep eyes on the ball and volley it through was just ridiculous. But he looked like a big ruckman on a mission as a co-captain. Well, he was flying solo, I guess, but between he and Soldo, I felt really bad for that GWS ruckman. They worked him over big time.
How good was when he smashed the ruckman? That was even better. When he cleaned up their ruckman in the second quarter, like he hurt him. It was fantastic.
He was hurting everyone. The amount of messages I was getting from random people saying, shit, Nank's going to get suspended in a second. He is just taking, like every tackle he made sure he took him to the ground and landed on him. It was unbelievable.
But both ruckman, you talk about Nankervis, really it was Nankervis and Soldo as a combination. We won the hit outs 32-19. Now GWS did make a mistake there by only playing one ruckman. That's on them. But our ruckman did the job. And the fact that they could push forward and we got 3 goals out of our ruckman as well was an added bonus. But I mean, the work we did out of the middle as a result at ground level with Soldo and Nank, like Nank laid a couple of big heavy tackles as well, and even Soldo. I'm looking at the two. Wonderful game from both ruckmen.
What did you think of their game, EJ?
Yeah, again, it'll probably rear its ugly head later on, but Nank in particular was huge. He was equal first in contested possessions and equal first in tackles. He was third in pressure acts. A ruckman was third in pressure acts. And he was equal first in pressure acts in the defensive half. How many times did he drop back into the hole, clean it up for us? I certainly think that he's vindicating the idea of him being a skipper of our club.
Yes.
And Jack, for your comment earlier, it is a fair point that GWS only had the one ruckman, but like CB, so that's on them. Their midfield, I would say on paper, was still far better than ours in terms of the bigger bodies, the quality of their players. And you would have to say that they got a solid kick up the arse after the Carlton game and had to rectify it. And I thought Nank and Soldo were were exceptional. It was something that we need to see more of. Soldo looks a lot more confident on his knee. Kicked 2 goals. I mean, you can't ask for much more of a return.
Correct.
Looking at the forwards, we'll go with Tom Lynch first. 11 disposals, 3 marks, 3 goals. Probably should have had a couple more if we're being fair, CB, but he's moving freer. He's making a difference for us, which, Robbo decided to question that last week. But anyway, we move on. But what do you make of Big Tommy Lynch's game?
Mate, I look at it as in, I'm not looking at it as in Lynch's game. I'm looking at Lynch and Bolter as a dynamic. And combined, again, 7 goals between them was a fantastic return for 2 key forwards. So Lynch had 11 disposals, 3 marks, 3 goals. Bolter's had 10 disposals, 6 marks, 4 goals. And the energy, like the hit-up energy of Bolter hitting up the ground, like he's dangerous anywhere from 60 forward. Bolter can nearly kick it. Like it was just a different energy, a lot quicker. And I think both of them worked absolutely wonderful in tandem together.
I think that's a very fair summation, and people sort of saying that he gets like this one from league, still got double teamed and held and blocked. There was one, I think it was on the 3/4 time siren, that was just mind blowing that he didn't get it free. It doesn't matter. I mean, he didn't complain about it, and he still got the job done. I think early on in the next quarter. But I'll throw this one to you, EJ, with Bolter. What a game he had. 10 disposals, 6 marks, 4 goals. I know on the big footy board in the Bolter thread in pre-season, there was a lot of back and forth about if he's a forward, if he's a defender. A lot of people staunchly saying he can't play forward. But I think, I know it's a small sample size, but I think he's proving his worth as a key forward.
Yeah, and I might have to eat my own words here. I didn't think he could do it. I actually said during the game yesterday to my father-in-law, and I think it was, 10 minutes into this third quarter or whatever, this is one of the best 6-possession games I've ever seen. And he's ended up with 10 possessions. And one of my notes is it's one of the best 10-possession games I've ever seen. We all saw what happened with Davis, and I hope he gets well soon. But that is the show of he is that athletic that he's as tall as the key defenders. They can't go with him. He's a better kick than them. He's got great hands. So he is naturally going to, over the next couple of weeks, also pull more attention towards him, which is actually going to free up Lynch.
Yeah.
We're probably at a stage where Lynch has been copping the attention. Things go as they are, it's going to go the other way.
Yeah.
So, no, as I wrote, it's simply in my notes, one of the best 10-possession games I've ever seen. Because if he wasn't getting a possession, he was creating a possession for the small forwards by bringing it down and doing all the Richmond things that we ask.
I agree. And there was a time, I don't know if it was in the 3rd or 4th quarter, but, on 1 minute he's tackling a bloke over the boundary line on the wing, and then the next minute he's deep inside our forward 50, he's leading, taking a mark, kicking a goal. He's goal kicking as well, CB. Like, it was pretty dead eye, and he's jumping at packs. I don't know. It's I'll put out a bit of a controversial question shortly after this, but liking what I'm seeing from him. The last 2 players we'll touch on quickly is Bolton and Pickett. Kind of hard to split them for. I think Pickett probably shades him for BOG in my opinion, but we'll go Bolton first. CB 17 disposals, 6 marks, 2 goals, 12 pressure acts, 4 centre clearances, and about 100 shimmies and shakes that got through the GWS players. He was just unbelievable.
He was shaking and baking, as Dwayne would say. No, look, I mean, the only downside of Bolton's game is, mate, what's it going to cost to keep him in about 2 years' time? Because he's a freak, absolute freak, and he's an igniter. I just wish that opening centre bounce, I just wish he had a slotted it, because that just would have brought that would have brought the house down. But
yeah,
it was. I was out of the chair. Don't worry, I was riding the pony. But yeah, it was great game. He's excited. He's excited. He's an excitement machine. Love him.
He's taken it to a whole new level, EJ.
He has, and I think, as CB said, the major concern is can we afford to keep him? I don't think I've seen anyone in the centre that elusive for a long time. How often does he move, like, literally 3 different directions and have players around him not actually move, but they don't get to touch him.
Or if you're Lockie Whitfield, you run away from him and let him just waltz inside 50.
Yeah. Hey,
And just point.
Yeah,
Just
someone else's job.
Just point.
Yeah.
He went full Brendan Goddard. Better guard this grass.
That was unbelievable. But what about Marlon Pickett, fellas? I thought this is the second week in a row he's turned in an exceptional performance. I think it's fair to say he's probably been a bit of a whipping boy of sorts over the last couple of years. His desperation to intercept mark or to spoil on the last line of defence late in the game, and the game was pretty much sewn up, let's be honest, but he was sensational, CB. Just one of his best games.
The highlight for me was not a possession. It was when he actually smashed Himmelberg in the goal square. That was like, with all the violence we'd already had on display through Nankervis, Lynch and those guys, I tell you what, when Pickett just come from nowhere, it was like Jaws. He come from nowhere and he just nailed him. It was so good. So good. Yeah, I like, as you know from last year's shows, I'm a fan of Pickett. As someone has commented, he's benefiting now 2 years in an AFL system. We're really starting to see what this guy can do. And he's a bit of a Benjamin Button too. I think he's got a bit of durability about him. So he's playing fantastic.
It's just his aggression, EJ, like not only at the ball, but the man with the ball. And we know he's maybe stepped over the line a couple of times in years gone by, but if he can channel that aggression, the right way, he's a genuine weapon. And you got him doing it, you got Bolter who can do it, you got Nank who can do it. All of a sudden things become a bit scary.
Lee Middleton has just written it right down there.
Karen Aldridge,
there are not many players in today's game that can actually scare the opposition. And I honestly believe that some of the opposition can hear footsteps when he comes because he, like Nank, he actually hurts people.
Yeah.
Makes him earn it. He does. He is just a weapon. And hopefully he keeps it going. All right, we'll do the 3-2-1s quickly. And let me get my bit of paper open. Now, I'm not going to do mine this week because I want to keep it at 4 because I do have Carl and Tiggs because I wasn't sure what was happening guest-wise tonight. So we're going to go with CB, EJ, and then I'll read out Carl's and Tiggs quickly. So Carl went 3 for Jaden Short, 2 for Pickett, 1 for Bolter. Tiggs went 3 for Bolter, 2 for Pickett, 1 for Lynch. So before I throw over to you guys, make sure listeners throw in your 3-2-1 votes in the chat. I want to see what all of you guys think as well. CB, who are your votes for?
Right. 3 votes I'm giving to Jack Graham. 22 disposals, 2 tackles, 25 pressure acts. A really good return to form. He was our number 1 pressure act specialist, and he led the way in the midfield. So 3 to Graham. I've given 2 to Bolter because he was our most effective key forward. And I'm giving 1 to Marlon Pickett. And seriously, apologies to Broad, Short, Bolton, and about 5 or 6 other blokes. So Graham, Bolter, Pickett.
Very good. No, it's pretty hard to fit 3 in, to be honest. But EJ, who have you gone for?
Yeah. My list was about 10. I've gone 3 to Chimp. Koch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, number 1 for pressure acts, number 1 for tackles, 2nd for scoring involvement, 2nd for pressure acts, and 2nd for pressure acts in the defensive half. So he's done it at both ends of the field. For me, that's huge. Number 2 votes to Nank. Again, equal first contested possessions and tackles, and equal first for pressure acts in the defensive half as a ruckman. They often get overlooked. I think he deserves the votes. And number 1, as CB said, for all the reasons he said, is Jack Graham. Unheralded game. When you then dive into the stats, it was an enormous, quiet game.
Have you got how many kilometres he covered? Because I think he was number 1 kilometres on the ground as well. Because he ran his ass off. On top of that, he worked bloody hard.
Very good. Thank you for your votes, lads. If I was counting my votes, I would have gone Pickett, Bolter, Broad. But I don't think you could argue sort of too much against each other with those votes. Like, it was a very, very team-orientated effort, I think it's fair to say.
It killed me not to put Broad in.
Yeah.
It really did.
Actually, Troy, that's a fair shout out there. We have missed we have missed Tarrant. CB and I'm not sure if you've got the same love there, EJ, but CB and I've got a lot of love for Robbie Tarrant because he's not getting a lot of the credit he deserves. The Iron Fists, I won't. You can go with the joke you said today, CB, if you want to. But
I tell you, no one fists like Tarrant. He's the best at fisting in our club. He fists everything.
Well, it actually goes back to something you said earlier, Michaels, but I didn't want to interrupt at the time. When you actually mentioned Tarrant, Miller and Gibcus together, clearly number one on the field for 1%ers this weekend was Tarrant.
Yep.
Right. He was 5 1%ers ahead of our next, which was number 2 Miller and number 3 Gibcus. No, Tarrant is much like Asprey. He's doing the unfashionable things that don't get the credit they deserve, and he's doing them well. He's doing them flawlessly. They're not going to get the credit, but without that, we don't function.
He's a stopper, as you said to me today, CB. He's just not letting his direct opponent make the most of opportunities, which is all we can ask for.
He's old-fashioned. He's not flash and bang. He just will kill you, and he'll kill the ball with his fisting.
This fisting. Just to this one, Dow did cop an injury, which we mentioned earlier. Thank you to everyone for clarifying. It sounds like it was a precautionary sub, so hopefully he's right to go, hopefully this week, but I've got no doubt he'll be back in the near future. Yeah, Miller also had a good game as well. Now, the question I want to pose, and I know this is going to be controversial, and I'm not shooting Bambi. I want to put that straight out there, even though I like it criticised for doing so. But do we look better? This is a yes/no for the listeners out there as well. Do we look better with 2 key forwards and 2 rucks versus 3 key forwards and 2 rucks? So the 3 key forwards being Bolter, Lynch, and Rewalt, and obviously Nank and Soldo, versus Bolter and Lynch obviously played, but how much more mobile did we look with just the 2 forwards and 2 ruckmen? I'm not sure if it's a personnel thing. I'm not sure if it's just a structure thing, but you've got Jack Rewalt waiting in the wings. What role does he have when he comes back in? Because it almost seems like it slows the forward line down, because we actually finally got some tackles inside 50 against the Giants, which we only had one of last week against Carlton. It's I'm not saying to get rid of Jack Rewalt. I'm just saying we have to think very carefully how we structure up going into games, because we look dangerous with 2 and 2.
But this, to clarify, this is a yes or no question?
Yeah, if you've got other points to add, go for it as well.
No, I can add afterwards, but you said this is a yes or no question?
Are we better with 2 and 2?
Yes.
And what would you add afterwards?
No. I don't know if I've loved. I don't know. My first jumper was a number 8, was Michael Roach, Disco, right?
Yep.
I love full forwards. I love Jack. I don't know if I've loved another player apart from Dusty as much as him for whatever. The bloke's a genius, and he's the smartest player on our list by panels. The only positive that I can come up with him on the ground now is the fact that he is clever, and on the ground he can coach and organise. If that can be overruled by factors in the coaching box, as Gough Whitlam said, it's time. And I felt like I just shot Bambi.
Yeah, you took more of a shot than I did, CB.
But I get 100% what you're saying, Michaels. I get it 100%.
Yeah, it's a tough call. Like, I know, you think that it's a no-brainer that he comes back in, CB, but then the question's like, who for? We've just beaten GWS by 36 points in a pretty comprehensive performance. We've looked slick and sharp. How does it work?
I think 2 and 2 works better personally. To the way we move the ball and our manic pressure, I think 2 and 2 is more in our DNA than 3 and 2.
It's going to be interesting to see.
So what's your 2 and 2, CB?
Oh, you rat bastard! You set me up. Unfortunately, I'll make no secret of it. Look, I thought maybe Jack it was hard because Jack was third in the Coleman last year, but he's also 32. I think it's a good one to have. I mean, end of the day, they're going to go with the 3. We know that. They'll back the players in. But next year we'll be looking at Bolter and Lynch without a doubt.
It feels like, for all intents and purposes, the Bolter is the next solution post Jack Root whenever he retires. So, yeah, it's an interesting dilemma. It's a good one to have. And Jack Nance, I do take your point that they did lose, obviously, Phil Davis during the game, but we still looked a lot sharper than we have when playing the 3 big guys. So, small sample size, but I think it's just interesting food for thought to see how it unfolds.
Yep.
All right, CB, you can hit us off with the Saints review.
Rightio. So the Minnows. We're playing the Minnows in the Bunnings shed on Sunday that we don't like travelling to, apparently. So
Bunnings shed.
Look, looking at some key numbers for the St Kilda. And let's say I watched the St Kilda Freo game and I felt like pulling my eyeballs out about halfway through the third. It was pretty hard going. But it appears their main weapon overall statistically was Jack Steele, who come in with 23 disposals, 13 tackles, and 2 inside 50s. So as an individual game laying 13 tackles, that's huge for an on-baller. So whether that suggests he's being used in a stopping role, he was, to me, their main on-baller. EJ, I'll let you talk about Jack Higgins, mate. Have a look at his numbers there and tell me what you think.
Mate, Haley's comment probably came last week.
Yes.
I don't wish ill on many that leave Tigerland. I hope that Brando kills it. I hope that Chol kills it. You know, I was wrapped for Conker to get his time at Freo, whatever. But Higo, for me, I hope we absolutely murder the bloke. I actually think he's going to feel the pressure of this weekend big time. He knows what's coming. He knows we're coming for him. He knows what's coming. He knows that he ain't going to get a Freo to play against this week.
Well, his numbers, so he had 16 disposals, 5 marks, 4 goals, 4 tackles.
Yep.
So he pulled his one good game out a month, 1 week before we play him, which was fantastic.
Comment.
And Michaels, what do you think about Jack Sinclair? 25 disposals, 6 tackles, 5 inside 50s. How's he looking?
They're good numbers, aren't they? I must admit, I didn't catch any of the St Kilda game, to be honest, but 6 tackles and 5 inside 50s. They're obviously playing a lot of the ball through him, and it's playing as a halfback. You've got to make sure that we pay respect, and I think Castagna could be someone who could not. We don't tag. We all flat out know that, but if Castagna's going to do anything, we need him to curb the influence of a Sinclair, Webster, Hunter if he plays off halfback, people who can deliver the ball inside 50 cleanly, like what we have Hugo and Rioli doing. We can't afford that to be happening against us, slicing us through the middle. So, yeah, it looks like a pretty well-rounded game by Sinclair, but I think we've got the smarts of our smaller forwards to be able to just keep a close eye on him and make sure he doesn't get off the leash.
Yeah. And EJ, I'll give you one. Brad Hill. So Brad Hill, 30 disposals, 1 tackle, 1 clearance. Thoughts on him, mate?
He pretty much got his own way, didn't he? It was a good game. It was a really good game. I think the big thing in our favour when it comes to Brad Hill, he probably has the pace to burn both of our wingmen. But I think when K-Mac came back last week, we saw a return to the structure. K-Mac holds his width really well and protects on the open side really well. So you've got Hill on one wing and Wanganeen Malira on the other versus K-Mac and Pickett. I think physically we can actually maybe worry them quite a bit. So if we can close down that Hill space, I think we can limit a lot of what he does bring. Because if we do allow him space, he will hurt us because on the break, he is very clean.
Yeah, I've got a knock on his two-way running.
Good point here as well by Julian. K-Mac has owned Bradley Hill the last few times.
Yeah, because Yeah, because like I said, because Brad Hill doesn't work both ways. He's a downhill skier. When their tails are up, he's up, and when
Looks $1
the
million
going gets tough, he does go missing.
Yeah, if they get a run on, he's got the pace to torch either of our wings. But if it's an even game, I'd back us to keep him in check.
Yeah, totally agree.
He won't break the game.
No, he'll just add cream to the top if they've already broken it. I think this kind of challenge is one that K-Mac would relish as well. I think he takes a lot of pride in his wing spot. It's kind of a role that maybe doesn't get a lot of plaudits with what he does. But like you said about the width, that's a huge factor in our game style and being able to stop switches and things like that. I think he'll take on Bradley Hill, and I think he'll do a wonderful job. What about Jack Steele, CB? He's probably the heartbeat of the Saints over the last few years. Max King.
Max King. Now,
11 disposals, 6 marks, 4 goals. Big unit. There
was the game right there. They had no answer for Max King. He played a very, very good key forward game on the weekend. 11 disposals, 6 marks, 4 goals, and the grabs he took, they were big grabs.
He takes them at the highest point.
Was that?
It takes him at the highest point. He's a good leaper.
But he's hitting packs. They were pack grabs. Like he looked bloody dangerous. Actually, he looked really, really good. He looked good in a red, yellow and black jumper. Actually, but the reality is he's coming up against the fisting king, and he won't get the same latitude to jump at the ball like he did against Fremantle, because the Fremantle defensively they were pretty shizer, if I'm honest. So. Be interesting to see how he goes more of a close checking, old school, bigger bodied defender.
And I think as well, a lot of it comes down to the pressure your midfield applies as well to not give him easy access into the forward 50. So if our mids can do the right thing defensively, Tarrant should have a much better time at shutting down King. And I'm assuming that Grimes is going to be back as well to play his part on doing that too. And Broad as well will obviously chip in and cut across packs and do what he's got to do.
Yeah. So I guess head-to-head, so now the numbers are a bit skewed because we've only got a 2-week sample and we were dog shit on the first game, let's be serious.
Yep.
So if you look, for example, at the numbers, we averaged 35 tackles against the Saints 55 for the first 2 rounds. Inside 50s is very close, 46 to 48 the Saints way. Contested possessions, 143 to 123 St Kilda's way. Uncontested, 226, 195 St Kilda's way. Clearances, 26 to 36 St Kilda's way. But if you look at how we played, obviously that number's a bit skewed. Stoppage clearances was 13 to 25 Saints way. Rebound 50s, 47 to 35 our way. 1%ers, 50 to 43 our way. Disposals per goal, 24 to Richmond, 36 to St Kilda. Turnovers, 73 Saints, 63 Richmond. And tackles inside 50, this is the one misnomer, 12 to the Saints, 2.5 to Richmond. But if you look at the last game, that's that'd be a little bit different again. So there's some numbers to digest or rip apart, however you want.
Yeah, the tackles inside 50 is alarming. But look, I think we're starting to if we can bridge that gap with the clearances, that's going to play a huge part. And someone put before that Paddy Ryder might be back in. So if we've got a genuine 2v2 ruck competition, that's going to make things really interesting, because Paddy Ryder, being a good experienced ruckman, is a much better prospect for an opposition team compared to a ruckman going one out. So that'll be interesting to see how that one goes. But the tackle count, someone in the chat alluded to earlier, is probably a part of our game that we could improve on. But then Lee raises a point, EJ, that is it less tackles because we're playing a grid defence, or do you still think there's room to improve in that tackle area?
Oh, I think there's room to improve. But I think, as CB said, it's probably skewed because our first week we were pretty poor. I don't think we had a lot of tackles on the weekend either, though, going off memory without opening up the phone. I think we were beaten again in the tackle count. I don't know as much about the grid defence, I'll be honest. I think we always set up in a grid defence, but in previous years, we've tackled at a greater level. What I did see on the weekend that came back was our hunt. I thought after the first 15 minutes where I thought, oh, GWS are going pretty well, I thought our hunt and our pressure acts was outstanding. Sometimes you don't need to tackle. Sometimes you just need them to think that you're going to tackle them. And I think that aspect on the weekend was enough. If we tackle them, great. But as long as we're there.
I think a player that's good at that is Baker. He applies a lot of perceived pressure, he closes out really quickly, doesn't necessarily get the stat for it, but he's forcing kicks to go where they're not meant to go if you're the opposition kicking it. And it's a pretty underrated thing to have. Absolutely job done.
Well, it's referred pressure. That's what you're talking about, AJ. It's referred pressure.
All right, CB, ins and outs before we get to matchups. What are we looking like?
I am a simple man, and I only see one change in my crystal ball that I'm shining. For me, unfortunately, Miller makes way for Grimes, and that's about it. I think I just want to preface this. If Jack Riewoldt is not 100% ready to go, do not play him. If Dion Prestia is not 100% ready to go, do not play him. I know Dimmer spoke about those two in particular in his presser. I would rather Dion Prestia come back slowly and play a couple of quarters in the resis and start building up his strength in the muscles, so he's ready to go when we finally put him back in our best 22. And if Jack Riewoldt needs more time to fix the frigging finger, given it with just what we did on the weekend, take the time. There's no need to rush him back in. So it gives us ability to work on game plans and flexibility in case Lynch goes down or something, you know what I mean? So there's aspects to him taking his time coming back. So for me, out Miller, in Grimes, job done.
I'm with you. We used to play it safe, didn't we? We would never rush back players if they were, a little bit underdone. I reckon, I know players are probably never going to be at 100%, but I reckon we need to be making sure they're at least 90% good to go before we start throwing them back in. Don't put them back in because of their name and their past. Have a look at how it's going currently, and stick with what's working. So, EJ, I'll chuck it to you for your changes. Who do you think's coming in and out?
Yeah, Grimes Miller. It's pretty simple for me.
And Miller's not done anything wrong, has he? I mean, let's be honest. He played a good game. It's just that Grimes is an intercept beast, and you kind of can't not have him in, can you?
Miller, apart from one contest where I thought he got out-bodied a bit easily, apart from that, I thought he was really solid.
I agree with the Grimes for Miller, and I wouldn't be against someone like a Mansell taking Art's spot as the emergency, but I know that's neither here nor there. Rioli,
I'm with you there.
Rioli had a good dip as well in the VFL. Collier Dawkins, see if Dow's out, I would like to see Collier Dawkins step up and play that role.
I'll preface this too. The question was raised earlier by our audience about Jake Arts and the sub. If Arts wasn't the sub, who would it be? I think Parker is the ideal sub. So, because he can play forward or back, he's that sort of rangy utility type, shall we say. So I think if we can get sort of players back from injury, long term, I would like to see Parker as the sub and Arts back to VFL.
Stacky had a good game as well. And I know you said about the VFL before, CB, but Sonsie had a good game. He was applying a lot of forward 50 pressure, kicked a good goal. So it's good to see those guys putting their
Banks
hands
was
up.
good first half.
Banks was good.
Banks was very good.
Cumberland had a good game as well.
Yep.
So it's nice to see a few players, really putting their hands up for it. All right, we'll get to some key matchups. Before we look at them quickly, make sure listeners get your questions ready for question time. But CB, some key matchups. Who are you liking the look of?
Look, I think Tarrant. I mean, you go through all numbers of on-ballers, but for me, King is their main big avenue to goal. If we can quell him, that really curbs their scoring power. So for me, Tarrant has to take first crack at King and take him out.
What about Gibkiss, EJ? If Tarrant's going to King, what do we do with Gibkiss? Because the kid can play. He's shown his worth 2 games in, very composed. I think he went at 100% efficiency.
He did.
You can't not like him. He's ticking all the boxes.
I love him. He should have been in since round 1. I've always said that. CB.
Stop it now.
I sort of think your other two sort of tallish sort of players are Membry and Hayes.
And
I think
Wood.
Membry's probably.
Look at that Wood, the ex-North Melbourne guy, Woods. He used to play his one good game against us.
Oh, is he playing?
Mason Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's worry about a bloke who's got talent. So he came off the bench. He did all right. But if you look at it the way that St Kilda is set up, Membry and Hayes are the other sort of medium, tall and tall options. I sort of think that Membry's quite big and physical, so I sort of think that maybe Broad, as the more mature type, will go to him. So I sort of think, even though Hayes is old enough, he's not AFL mature. So I'll probably say Gibcus can maybe start off on him.
Well, do you reckon? Yeah. Do you reckon Grimes would take Membry and Broad will do the Vlosten role?
I think Broad physically is a better match for Membry.
Yeah, I like it better the other way. I think there'll be a lot of just that rolling change as well. It'll be whoever's in the closest area to him will take him, I suppose. I reckon once Membry starts pushing outside 50, the Broad maybe will go with him or just let him run up and someone can take over. But yeah, they don't look. Yeah, I don't know. Membry's good, but outside of that, Gresham's probably their other forward that probably has burnt us a few times that we've played him, kicked multiple goals on us. Who do you send to Gresham? Is that a Jaden short roll? Is it a Rioli? Baker?
Rioli.
I like Rioli.
Just for a speed factor, can go toe-to-toe with him.
And can run off him.
Yes, can hurt him the other way. And to be fair to Rioli, I know he's had his haters, but he's actually been working really hard on his actual defensive work, which has been good to see too. What about the other end of the ground, CB? We look at sort of St Kilda's defenders. You've got Joshy Battle, McKenzie, Sinclair. It kind of feels like they might have a similar issue to what GWS had. If we get good enough ball entry, I'm not sure they've got the big power down there to sort of contain a Bolter and a Lynch.
Agree. Look, Jay, Battle's a very good defender. Quite like him.
I like Joshy Battle.
Yeah, but I think physically we might have it over him a little bit. So, yeah, I quite like our odds of our forwards versus their defence. If we get the ball in, I quite like those odds, if I'm honest. And you're right, the comparison of GWS is probably pretty fair, I'd suggest.
EJ, do you think we've got an upper hand there in the forward department?
Yeah, I do. I think they're a little bit undersized. And my first question was, I looked at the St Kilda back six and I tried to pick who of them can go with Noah Bolter.
Yeah.
Right? So he's got it on them. He can go up the ground, he can come back, he double back. He went both ways and burnt ponytail, hamstring. What's his name? Phil Davis. Right. So he's burnt Phil Davis. So he can torch people both ways. If he's pulling them out of position, that just creates also opportunity for others. I don't see a matchup for Bolter, and from there, I think the dominoes will fall for our forward line.
Okay. The last one I want to look at, CB, is the ruck. We've got Marshall, who I think is a really good ruckman in the competition, and if Ryder comes back in, that's going to be another very handy in for the Saints going up against Nank and Soldo. It's going to be a lot different matchup compared to last week against one ruckman. What do you think our boys have to do to get it over him?
Well, it's funny. Ryder's very good because Ryder does work back as well. Like, he's quite a smart footballer. He's a bit slow, but he's quite smart. So they will work back into the hole as well to block our forwards up. So we have to be on that as well. But I reckon, to be honest, I wouldn't say we shade him in the ruck. I think we've probably just got it over him in the ruck division, if I'm honest. I think Rowan Marshall's quite a good. He's like a younger version of Nag. He's quite a good ruckman, and Ryder deserves a little bit of respect. He can play okay, but first game back from injury, we'll see how he goes.
Midfield wise, EJ, Marlon Pickett. Do we need to see more of him in the guts at centre bounces? Given that his grunt work's pretty good, he's a bit of an animal at the contest. Is he someone that we should be rotating in there? Or is he better starting out in the wing and just playing in stoppages around the ground?
I think your point 2 is right.
Start him on the wing.
I think we let the kids do the kids. Like, I've had this chat with CB a couple of times about playing Ross on the wing and he getting torched. If he plays inside on the weekend, he plays a pretty good game. Koch has played a good game. Bolton's played a good game. Let's let the inside mids. Graham's there. I think we're okay in there. I think the structure that we have with the 2 wingers being Pickett and K-Mac will cause more damage than the pinch hit of Pickett in the guts.
Yep.
No, that's a fair enough assessment. Hard to disagree with that. All right, we'll go over to the listener questions now. So if you've got any questions, send them through. Before we start going through them, please make sure you do give the stream you're watching a like and a share, and really help support us. Any subscribes on YouTube is always greatly appreciated as well to help boost us up the rankings. We always love and appreciate everyone's support. So, see, the more you support us, the more of the gun show CB will reveal. I'm not sure if that's going to be a good enticer or not.
I'm going to get our shit dreadlock. We can put a Tire and Victory 29 jumper on. Double cover it.
And like I said earlier, we probably won't touch too much more on the Dustin Martin thing. First one from Nick. Did anyone go to the Oils after the game? That's surely a CB territory.
Actually, you'd be surprised. Our man EJW is probably a bigger fan than me. No, I've obviously got the China virus, so I missed out on everything the back end of the week. The footy, the whole shebang. I was nowhere. EJ, did you go to the Oils?
No, I didn't, because I'm in Country Vic, but I have seen the Oils probably 50 to 60 times.
You old bastard.
Yeah, I am old, but they're one of my favourite bands. Yeah, so no, I didn't go on the weekend, but many, many, many big fan.
All right, now, EJ, what's with Georgie flying at marks and spoiling Lynch? Needs to learn to stay down.
Yes.
Oh, good call. I love Georgie, and unlike 37% of the Tiger faithful, I don't want to see him drop from the side. I cannot fathom that every week. I can't fathom that. He brings so much more good than what he doesn't. As a former Georgie hater, but man, just get out of the way. How good's he's kicking for goal this year, though?
Hey, kicked a clutch goal. Give him that.
He backed himself.
He's been a lot straighter the last half a season. He's been really good.
Shorty was circling around the back for that cheeky handball, wasn't he? And Georgie just backed himself in. I thought he was going to overkick it and just pull it straight out in the full, but it was a clutch goal. CB, what flavour protein powder are you sipping on, CB?
Nah, mate, I've got enough weight issues. I don't need to be sipping protein, mate. Just good old fashioned water is good enough for me, mate. Maybe the odd cup of green tea and a coffee. That's all I do these days. My body's a temple, and EJ will back me up on this.
Yeah, there's a question earlier, EJ. What wine are you drinking tonight?
I'm curious. He actually does the boutique. He's a boutique wanker, this guy. He drinks all the... If you actually follow him on Twitter, he's always got a picture of some orange blood beer or some shit. Go on. What are you drinking?
I've tried my best, apart from a couple of cheeky sips, to keep the stuff off the screen tonight. I have got a Heathcote Shiraz from my former employer, which I have just left.
So what he's done, guys, he's got a goon bag. He's put it into a can of fancy stuff, and he's drinking like $4 Chuck Fruity Lexi or something.
It's a bottle.
All right, so we'll wrap it up there. So we've got a reminder: the game is on Sunday, 3:20 p.m. My time zone is back to Melbourne time, so that is actually correct tonight, unlike last week. Versus St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. Dimmer might not be there, but hopefully the players turn up, even though we don't like playing there. But let's get a big crowd to the game, make lots of noise. It's a genuine game that we can win and hopefully jump into the 8, all things going well for us. Huge opportunity. On paper, we should be right, and if we can put out another performance like we did against GWS, I think all things should look okay for us. But before we go, we'll get our tips, including margins. EJ, go with you first.
Tigers by 37.
Tigers by 37. Very good.
Yep.
CB.
Yeah. Tigers by 30, EJ. We're on similar lines there.
I'll actually tip Richmond this week, unlike my efforts last week, and I'll say the Tigers by 23. Although, if we lose, maybe I've got to do the reverse Moz going forward and see how it goes. But yeah, that just wraps it up. So thanks so much for coming on, EJ. Much appreciated at very late notice. And thank you to CB for organising EJ to come on. I'm glad that your internet did sort itself out in the motel at the end, because it's a very good contribution from you.
Mate, I just don't want to get hit by a chainsaw in the middle of the night.
What is it, Michaels? You and me, always good internet. But I tell you what, between Tiggs's $8,000 computer, random dudes in motels, we just can't get that third party to get the internet going. Something's up.
Mate, if I need to get subbed in later in the year and I'm at home, I will lap you with my internet.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Scott Morrison finally got 4G out there, did he?
If any internet companies want to jump on board as a sponsor, we are open to talks. Good to see a few Tiger tips sending through your margin throughs. Percentage booster, Tigers by 24. Very good. And we'll finish on this. And I think it's a very good call, Nick. The Teague movements are starting to show, and I think the more we get into the year, hopefully the better our forward ball movement will look. And we started to see that on against the Giants, and hopefully we see it more against the Saints this weekend. So thank you again, gents. Much appreciated. And hopefully we can be back on Monday with another win under our belt.
Absolutely. Let's go, Tigers.
Let's go, Tigers.